Today is May 15th, 2020, and we're here interviewing my grandmother, Jeanene Kortjohn, who is 99 3/4. So we're going to ask her a couple questions about her life. What year were you born?
I was born in 1920. It's an easy year to remember.
And where were you born?
I was born right next to my mother. She happened to be in New Jersey when she welcomed me into the world. And I was the fourth daughter to be born. Now, I don't know how happy my father was, but if he would only be patient, my mother did have a son. There were 5 of us in the family. Catherine, lovely, artistic, a sweet girl. Everybody loved Catherine. Grace came along. Grace was energetic, always jumping over hedges, always going out ferreting jobs for herself. She was a great babysitter. All the mothers loved her. She was fast, she was good. Grace was good company. And then Betty was the blue-eyed, blonde-haired, round face. Everybody loved Betty. Nice personality. She became a beautician, and in the height of the Depression, you won't believe, she opened up her own beauty shop. She rented a store in what they call Depression Alley. All of the other stores were vacant. But over the years, she made a success of it, accepting. Just when she was on the cusp of success, her husband, who was in the service out west, couldn't stand to be alone. She absolutely had to leave her shop and go with her husband, which was too bad. She put her heart and soul into this shop that started as an ugly place.
What town was that in?
That was in Jersey City, Ocean Avenue.
And then you had a brother.
Yeah, my brother Bob. I was in charge of him. God bless Junior, his name was. And he was such a good boy, but I was kind of weary of minding him all the time and was always plotting ways. You stay here, Junior, and I'll come right back for you. And I never planned on coming back for him. But the night when I told him to stay there and I would be right back, and I came back and he wasn't there, and I looked and there were 2 men standing there, and it was in my head that they kidnapped him because that was the time of the Lindbergh kidnapping. And I looked at these 2 men and I just started to scream, "You kidnapped my brother, you kidnapped my brother." And I ran home, got my father. My mother couldn't shut me up. Junior was kidnapped, and I know who did it. So my father went with me. The 2 men are still standing there. And my father explained to them, his boy was here, and well, no, they don't know anything about a boy standing there. In the meantime, my brother, who waited for me to turn my back, and then he went right round to his boyfriend's house. And then, anyway, that was the night we thought he was kidnapped.
What were your parents' names?
Mary Judge and Robert Ross.
And what did your father do for a living?
Oh, my God. When he worked, which wasn't too often, he was a bricklayer, a union bricklayer. Didn't have any jobs during the Depression. And my mother would say, "Bobby, can't you take any kind of a porter job, any job?" And he would stand up, "I am a union bricklayer," shebang. That meant, he wasn't going to do anything else. So, yeah, we weren't eating too hearty those days. But we got through it. My mother was a great person. We got through it.
Do you have any interesting stories about the Depression or how you rationed things?
I don't think that was an interesting time. It was a dreary time, and it just lasted too long, especially in my house. Other people seemed to be recovering because their father wasn't a union bricklayer and he would take other jobs. But, my father had high standards and we had low food capacity. So my mother had to be as ingenious as she could to get food on the table for all 7 of us.
Did you have any best friends when you were young?
Best friends, a scattering of girls. Yeah, Lillian was my best friend. And while we were in the library one day, I think we were about 9 years old, and she liked a certain book. and I saw her put it inside of her winter coat. And then later on, we walked out of the library, and she didn't, give it to the librarian to stamp or anything. She just stole it. And I thought that was the worst thing. And I was next to her, and if they arrested her, they'd get me too. What would my mother say? Yeah, that was my girlfriend.
What did you do for fun when you were a child?
I hate to say, I don't think too much fun. We would go down to what you would call the dumps now. It was a big hill, and people would dump trash there. But we kind of played on there because there was the canal, the Morris Canal. You're from Jersey City, you know the Morris Canal. And that was where I was sitting up on a fence, and somebody said, "Oh, look at the airplane." And airplanes were so rare then. I looked up and fell back into a pail of awful, awful stagnant water, screaming my head off because they had already said there were rats in that water, there were snakes in that water, and my head in that water. So my friends dragged me home, and I'm screaming and yelling and all like that. But I survived.
What high school did you go to?
Snyder High in Jersey City. Started as a junior high school and then became a high school. And then, just as a little note, all of my children went to that school.
And when did you meet Pop?
I met Pop accidentally. My sister had given me a pair of white fur gloves at Christmas, and Pop saw me wearing them. We worked in the same area, and he saw me and he teased me about the white mittens. And the next day I was walking to work, and I actually had a crush on another fellow who worked for a Buick agency. And I was hoping if I took this particular path to work, I'd meet this Buick agency guy. Sure enough, a Buick car pulled up, and I thought, "Oh Lord, oh mercy, my happy day." And I went over to it. Ugh! Not my friend, it's Pop. Like a stranger. And he's saying, get in, get in, get in. No, I don't even know you. Oh my God. He said, "I teased you yesterday about your gloves." Well, okay, I guess he does know me, but he's not the person I'm. So at any rate, then we got acquainted. Going out to dinner, him driving outside of Jersey City to the suburbs, to the hills, where they had a nice sizzling steak restaurant. Oh, Lordy, did that sound good. So that was like our first date, the sizzling steak restaurant. And from then on, it just history.
How old were you when you met him?
20.
And how old was he?
30. Man of the world.
Where did you guys get married?
Oh, but first I have to tell you, when he proposed marriage, he asked me if I would marry him. I said, well, I don't know, because I was going with Danny, and I really like Danny. Danny and I were going to reform the world. So I said, well, I think Danny is going to ask me to marry him, and I'm not so sure now. So how could I decide? I said, okay, come up to my house Friday night, Bill, and Danny, come up to my house Friday night, and we'll just see which one I would be marrying. Well, I thought this was the only way. I thought this was the logical way. Danny, you can make your case. Bill, you can make your case. And my mother would be there, and I would decide that night whom I'm going to marry. Okay, so Friday night came, and my mother said, and I'll have a nice cup of tea ready too, when I decide. We could all have a nice cup of tea. So I guess Danny made his case. And of course, he was overwhelmed. He was a nice backwoods boy, and Bill was a man of the world. He had done a lot of work. He had jumped on ships and served in some kind of a group that went around the world on boats and all.
Oh, Merchant Marines?
Merchant Marine.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was a man of the world, of course, and was earning really good money. And poor Danny, we were riding on the Jackson Avenue trolley for a nickel. But when I was with Bill, we were in the Buick, in the Roadster. And in the end, I decided I would marry Bill. And then we all shook hands, and Danny left. And then we had a cup of tea. And that's how.
That is amazing.
Really?
Yes.
I thought it's the only way to do it. The only way to do it.
So when you were a young mother, Was that when the war was going on?
Yes.
Do you have any stories of that time?
Oh, the rations, the books, food being in short supply, not being able to plan dinners because of what you didn't have, whatever. However, Pop's family was always in the grocery business, and they had an in with this delicatessen and that National Grocery. So we did manage to eat very well. His father did open a deli, and everybody said, "Hey, Pop, there's 2-3 other delis right in the street." He said, "I'll close them all." And at this time, he only had one leg. So he got around on a dining room chair that Bill had put 4 rolls on, you know.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't a wheelchair, it was just a dining room chair. But yes, he did close all of the other delicatessens.
Did his wife work there too?
Oh, she tried not to. She was made for better things. Oh, she had beautiful hands, and she planned to keep them beautiful by just walking around and airing them, and beautiful rings on them and all. Wasn't a good helper for him at all. Sorry, I should be kinder to her. But
Did she come from some kind of lavish lifestyle?
She thought she did.
Okay.
French, yes.
Oh.
French
Yeah.
background.
She wanted to keep on with that lifestyle.
So Pop's father was
German.
and she was French?
Yeah, and he was tall and forbidding looking. I remember going to his store. I was about 12 years old, and my mother sent me out for some breakfast goodies, and it was Mr. Kortjohn's store. And there was Mr. Kortjohn. He had his 2 legs then. And he was standing, and I had to look way up at him. He was so tall. And now I'm thinking, do you believe that this would someday be my father-in-law?
Yeah. Do you have any stories of when you were a young mother raising your 3 daughters?
I'd like to say I was better than I was, but I was terrible because we were living in a very nice house, had 2 children, everything fine. Somebody else came along and said, "Oh, I would like to buy this house." And because I had fixed up the apartment so nice, they looked up and said, "Yeah, don't like that." They looked down at my floor. "Oh, we like this. You can move out." Wow, just like that. Pop had painted it all. It was a beautiful apartment that we had on a nice street. Okay, so now we're out. So I would go out during the day pushing Jean Marie in the carriage, and later Linda, and look at all nice houses for sale for $3,200, $3,600. Okay, this would be good for us, and then come home and tell Pop at night how nice they were. Then we had a realtor. After looking at enough nice houses that we could have bought any one, and I had gone in carrying Linda and hauling Jean Marie, and Pop was walking like this, you know, all by himself, and the realtor. Finally, we came to the house that we did buy, and I looked at, "Oh, I'm not even interested." I said, "Well, I'm not getting out of the car. You know, you go in and look at it." I was totally disinterested in looking at this ugly, ugly house. Oh. And Pop came running out like his tail was on fire. He came running to the car. "Honey, this is it." And I thought he had gone crazy. "This is it. When do you see it?" I couldn't believe it. So I went in with the 2 children. Never saw such a house in my life. And what Bill liked about it was the foundation. The foundation. Honey, from once you have a good foundation, you can build anything. This can be a beautiful house. We have a good foundation. Foundation didn't bother me. This was the ugliest house. The roof was ugly. The siding was, the steps were, everything was ugly. We bought the house, $3,800, and we could just about barely afford it. Bought the house, and for 20 years, it was under repair. For the first 10, I think, I hardly saw Bill after dinner time. He would go down the basement, go under this wonderful foundation, and drag out all of the ashes that it was on, and mix cement and put the cement down there, and that would hold the house up. And in our dining room, we had piles of cement, piles of sand, piles of plaster, whatever. But in the meantime, it destroyed my disposition. so unhappy with the house, and now I have 3 little kids and a furnace that always went out. I told you about the gas coming in, and
The coal man.
okay, the coal man, Lord of mercy, he would say to me after he rang the doorbell, "Where do you want it?" Where does anybody want their coal? I said, "Downstairs in the basement."
And it went into the chute.
Just get the coal in and get you out of here. It was something else. But then keeping the fire in was the worst thing. I was not a good fire person. I was afraid of it because once when I opened the furnace door, the fire came out and singed my eyebrows. And since then, whenever I'd open the door, I'd jump to the side of it. It was terrible. Finally, we did get enough scratch together and hired a plumber from church. And he put in real plumbing, real furnace, and we were living high on the hog.
Did you have a career outside of your home?
Not much of a career, because I never had much ambition other than just having children. Yeah, I didn't care to go to work. For a while I sold Avon products unsuccessfully. I was in a low-rent housing then.
Well, you were also a Girl Scout leader, right?
Oh yeah, Brownie leader. When Jean Marie was 7 years old and I heard about Brownie's Girl Scouts, oh yeah, I'll bring her there. And I brought her to this church where they meet. And I left her, came back, and I said, "Well, how was the meeting?" "Okay." "Did you do anything good?" "Okay." "What did you learn?" So like that happened 3 times. The leader would get off the bus and all of the little girls would be screaming, "Here she comes." They were so happy. And I said, "Boy, these kids, they really like it. But what are they doing?" So then I went inside to see, and they would just throw their dime on the table. That was the dues. And run around. So I thought, well, maybe it's only because I'm here talking to the leader, and I knew her from high school. I said, yeah, maybe when I'm not here, she has a program. So then I didn't go the next time. Same thing. I said to Bill, "Boy, I'm so annoyed with that girl Brownie stuff. Just a waste of time. That's all it is, just a waste of time." And he said to me, "Well, you never criticize anybody unless you think you can do better." And I thought, oh, the last thing I want to do is do that. But then as I thought about it, I can do better. I can do much better than Emma. I can have them all organized. So took a few courses, how to be a Girl Scout leader and all, and could only take 20 girls, and then had a waiting list. We had such great programs, and word got to headquarters. Brownie Troop 13, that's me, born on the 13th. Brownie Troop 13, we became the best in the city. All the mothers wanted their children to be here. Most of the leaders couldn't get a mother to help, and I had like 5 mothers listed. They all wanted to come and help. After they saw how the meeting was organized, we broke into groups, and everybody came up with their program. Everything was very by the book. And then Pop made us a stand to hold 3 big flags. And we were the only Brownie troop to have 3 flags. And we had a flag ceremony up the wazoo. We just wanted to do everything so nice and have fun. So yeah, everybody wanted to join because we did things.
And Mom, don't forget you were a counselor for the summer.
Oh, that was the worst. Okay, we go from the highs to the lows. Okay, summer camp has a month to go. The leader of this group, a hut, has to go back to college, and I got the call, "Mrs. Kortjohn, we need you." And I said, "Well, I have the 3 children. "Oh, yeah, your 3 children can come, no charge." So that night when Bill came home, I said, "This is the proposition. They want me up at camp for a whole month of August." And while we were gone, he was home doing some fancy painting in the house. Remember the green?
I do.
Yeah. We never should have left him, really.
You mean the cans? The circles?
Yes.
Yeah, that was very cool.
The wall was gray, and then he would take the top of a coffee can and dip it in blue paint, and then put that on the wall, and that was a circle. And then a larger can, another color.
Oh,
so very artistic.
Like a stencil.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And then he connected them all with a.
And then it was all going upstairs.
Yeah, it was a very
We were
unusual.
ahead of our time.
It was custom designed, really. Okay, so we're up at camp and things are not going well.
Don't forget your nickname.
Oh, Cordy, okay, Cordy's camp. My girls can't be with me because then I would pay attention to them instead of the other 20 girls. Okay, so they're all farmed out in different huts. And Diane was only maybe 4 years old.
Yeah, she was pretty.
She was kind of thin and weakling. And one night when I got up to go to the bathroom, and I'm sure it was a rainy night, and I saw this little waif walking, no shoes in the mud. Ah, that's my daughter. That's my baby. That's Diane. And she's walking to the latrine too. Yeah, it wasn't a good time at all. I didn't like it. I didn't like the food. The girls didn't like it.
Do you remember where that was?
Hibernia, New
Hibernia.
Jersey.
And remember Pop came up on the weekends and worked
Yeah,
doing the faucets, the something.
right. It was a family thing.
So he would come up. Well, that's good. You guys were a good addition to that brownie troop.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Any other careers that you had besides being a Girl Scout leader?
Oh, yes, an early career that I had in high school didn't last too long, surprisingly. So after working on the goldfish counter in the 5 and 10, and then they promoted me to my very own stand in the very front of the store. They set up a whole counter for what I would be doing, which was making malted milk with ice cream and all. And I had a nice machine in front of me, put the liquid in, put the ice cream in, put the cover on, remember the cover, and then turned it on. Okay, things went well. Saturday afternoon, I'm blasting out to everybody. Everybody's sitting around happy. And then I guess there was a little emergency, or maybe I got too busy. And while I have all of the product in this machine, and the blades are whirling around 1,000 miles an hour, I lifted the top, all of the milk, the product went right around to everybody who was sitting on the counter, got splashed with it, and one by one they all went like this, and they were covered. And oh my gosh, what did I do? So I picked up a rag and I began wiping people down. It was a terrible. And they kept saying, "No, that's all right. No, that's all right. Don't wipe me. Yeah, no, that's all right. I'm all right." And they all left, and I don't know whether they paid me or not. But a short-lived career. And then how I lost that job was, my sister Grace got married, and they said I couldn't have the afternoon off. So I took my lunch hour later, and I went to the church and saw my sister get married. And then I was going to go back to work, and my girlfriend Lillian said, "No, don't go back to work. Your sister only gets married once. Go to the reception, have fun." Oh yeah, that sounds good. So I had fun, and then the next Monday when I went in for my job, they said, "You don't have a job, you were fired." It didn't take much in those days. Could have had a career there in the 5 and 10.
So that is your time in Jersey City. Then you lived in Hilton Park.
Oh, Hilton Park was so nice because it was around the corner from Jeannie and Al and their children. And it was in the country, so to speak, coming from Bayonne, yeah. And a little house that Jeannie turned us on to, $20,000. And it had a lot of land to it, remember, from one street to the next, really. That was quite a bargain. So we bought it, moved in. The house was so little and probably built by hand. Half of the basement was just dug out dirt.
It was like a cave.
Oh, I wouldn't go down there. It was dank and dark, and yeah. And that was like your club room with the name on it and everything. Oh yeah, that was terrible.
And remember you named it Holly Acres?
Holly Acres. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I thought.
Oh yeah.
And then what?
You came to Clearwater Pool with us.
Oh, yes.
I think you were the shady lady.
Yes, yeah, I was. Had a beach chair with a hood over. I didn't like the sunshine. And on the back, my sister wrote, "Shady Lady." And people would walk behind the chair and they see the name. So then they'd walk around the front. What does a shady lady look like? Oh, her. Oh, it's her. Oh, I thought it was somebody. Shady
That
lady.
was very fun. Living in
Yeah,
Hilton
that was a nice time.
Park.
Eventually,
you moved to Sarasota.
yeah, that was the best.
Do you remember what year that was?
I was 70 years old Yeah.
1990.
And my sister came with me. Remember my sister Grace? Jeannie drove us down.
We had fun along the way. We stopped in North Carolina, and then we would go out in the evenings.
That was the surprise of it. After Jeannie was the only driver, the only one who drove. And after driving all day long, Grace and I would think, oh good, we'll have dinner, we'll have a shower, we'll go to bed, sit around at nighties, but not with Jeannie. After driving all day and eating, well then, okay, let's see, tonight we'll go, or we'll. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was so good. Of course, Jeannie's so easy to get along with. And she and Grace sat in the front. They had stories to tell. But don't think you're going to have a leisurely evening. You're still up. You're still up.
Okay, Graham, we're wondering, what is the secret to your long life?
Actually, I never thought about having a long life. Okay, here's a secret. I just open my eyes every morning and say, oh, wow, the gift of another day. Try to do better today than you did yesterday. Remember, yesterday you weren't so smart. See if you can be a little bit better today. Well, okay. And then with that pep talk, I bounce out of bed, bounce. And then the day has started. But a long life, I never looked forward to it, never expected it, never wanted it. I'm as surprised as anybody that I'm still here.
Well, we love listening to all your stories. We all love you. So.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, it's been a better life than I would have expected, than a lot of other people have had. But I think it's just through good fortune, meeting good people, having the best family. It's just been a lot of good luck because I can't think of anything that I did too well.
You're an awesome role model to us, and we all hope to live such a wonderful life as you did.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We'll see where it all takes us.
That we'll meet somewhere, and then we'll share our long